Hello, it's Josh, and welcome back to the channel. Today we have JB from JB Reviews sitting over here with us. We're going to talk a little bit about the new 6.7 Cummins. I think they're going to wait a little while till they bring out the 7.2, but you know, we're going to talk about what we can see from one basic little picture, because my best friend is not a Cummins engineer and I don't have a spec sheet on it. So let's start off with a couple little basics. They redesigned the water pump. Again, this is going to be about the fifth redesign for anything newer than a 2007. So we'll see if it's any different. It does look like they went with the cartridge style oil filter. It might make it a little bit easier to change, but to be honest, it wasn't the hard thing to change when it was a spin-on oil filter from previous generations. And to be honest with you, I've never seen an engine fail from a result of an oil filter problem. So I don't know why they thought they had to redesign that, but they did. So I'm not sure what kind of performance gains we're going to get or maintenance gains we're going to get from having this. I do know a lot of heavy equipment machinery uses cartridge style, and they seem to do very well. I spent a lot of years in the oil field, and pretty much every one of our oil field machines had cartridge style filters on it. So, there's going to be a little bit, hopefully, reduction in cost on the filter itself, because they no longer have to put it into a metal housing. Let's move across this engine a little bit more. We see a whole redesign of the EGR bypass system and EGR valve. I guess they learned their lesson on the 5th gen that design was terrible. We can't even get in and clean these 5th gen EGR valves like we can with 4th gen and before. They redesigned the crankcase ventilation filter, the CCV filter, and it looks like they went to the CP4X injection pump. So I don't know why somebody would continue to try and resurrect a dead dog, but they are trying it again. Hopefully they got their problems sorted out with this CP4. Time is going to tell. Now, the other thing that we're seeing from this picture is a color difference in the head design to the block. So did they actually go to an aluminum head? I'm not sure, and I'm not sure what I think about it yet. I know that the Cummins, especially on the cylinders 3 and cylinder 6, they generate a lot more heat. So hopefully they did something to better channel the coolant through the head to dissipate that heat away from it, because heat and aluminum, and especially with the pairing up to a CGI block, I'm assuming, the expansion and contraction rates are just crazy different between the two dissimilar metals. And I'm not sure if we're going to end up seeing a whole lot of head gasket issues out of this, or if it's going to be a good design. Time will tell. Again, back to the problem that we're having with all of these redesigns of parts. They're redesigning parts that didn't have a problem to begin with. Why they think they need to continually change these things in order to satisfy some EPA lobbyist or whatever, or they just need a new look, I don't know. You can bolt on some more plastic covers if you want a new look, but quit changing the stuff that's not broke. Cast iron head on a cast iron block. We didn't have issues like we're having with these CGI blocks. And I don't care who you are, what company you work for, CGI is not the answer.
So what about, I know you can't really see it from here too, but that fuel filter was buried behind the back of the engine. Hopefully, do you think that they'll maybe just go down to just one fuel filter?
I doubt it.
And the only reason why I say that is because my GMC has just one.
Yeah.
And I believe the power stroke, I can't remember, I've never done one on one of those trucks, but I believe that the power stroke might just have one too.
Yeah, and you know, that's why companies like FASS, when you put one of their fuel systems in, they have two.
Yeah.
Well, they got a separator filter and then a filter. And, you know, direct bolt-ins like we did on Don's truck. I did that FASS direct replacement fuel filter design, and it filters down to 2 microns. So if they can come up with a single filter for these that filters down to the 2 micron range, then yeah, it's definitely going to save a lot of money for the customers to not have to replace 2 filters every time. And by the look of that air intake on there, they needed the extra room because that thing is pushed down and back, and that other fuel filter would kind of be in the way.
Oh, true. And you mentioned too, like with this oil filter canister, we don't see the intake system, right? So yeah, where would that, I can't even, I mean, would it come out from right here?
Well, yeah, so you have your turbo feed coming from your air filter housing down this side of the engine.
Okay.
And, you know, after we get done with this, I can pop the hood on a 5th gen or a 4th gen and show you, you know, you got a tube that's that big around coming out of your air filter housing down the side of the engine and into the turbo. So they had to do a whole redesign on that, I'm assuming, in order to make room for that canister filter housing. But time is going to tell. Again, I haven't seen one of these in a truck yet, so I can't answer some of those questions.
Okay. Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing how that intake, if it even varies that. I mean, I'm pretty sure they've thought it through. They wouldn't make it to where you have to take off the intake to get to that oil filter. That'd be crazy. So yeah.
Well, but they probably had to reposition the turbo again. I mean, they repositioned it in the 4th gen, and again, it's we've seen some turbo failures because of the repositioning. Those turbos are designed to gravity feed the oil back down into the oil pan, but they rotated it without taking into consideration the oiling process. Well, I'm sure they took it into consideration, but over lots of mileage, I've replaced more 5th gen turbos than I have 4th gen turbos.
Yeah,
and we're pretty sure that it's from the lack of oiling efficiency out of them.
And I think they're going to a 10-vane turbocharger. Yeah, VGT still.
It's still going to be VGT, but it's going to have a much quicker spool-up time. Yeah, which is a good thing, you know.
Yeah, which that should probably help with them having the 8-speed power line, and I think going away from the Eisen, we should be able to see a quicker off-the-line Cummins, because in the past, Eisens, and this is just my theory, Eisens are commercial grade transmissions, so they're not hot rod transmissions. So you're not supposed to be doing 0 to 60 in 6 seconds with that truck, unless you're hooked up to a trailer at whatever weight. That's where that transmission and that's where the high output Cummins comes to life. You get all that power off the line when you're under load, in tow haul mode. So well,
they had to go with something, because the Fords and the Chevys and GMCs all had quicker times. You know, they're putting out more power, quicker times, so they had to come up with something to still compete. I guess. I still believe, and I've got friends of mine that own Chevys and Dodges, and other guys that own Fords as well, but they all say the same thing, that the Dodge outpulls the Chevys and the Fords day in and day out. But the numbers on the track, they don't lie. Dodge is falling behind in that area, so they need to really step it up. I really probably should stop saying Dodge, since it's Ram brand now and not Dodge.
It doesn't matter. I mean, that you grew up with Dodge Ram.
I grew up with,
So I get that. You've had Dodge Ram. So unfortunately, it's just innate in you to say that, because it's habit. But yeah, I'm excited. I'm sure they're going to still use 3 gallons of oil, which I hope that's the case, because that's one thing I like about this engine. They have a big capacity for that. And to your point, even though towing is not all about going fast, it's about stopping too. So we'll have to wait and see. And this is what I'm looking forward to when we do our testing. How is the 2-stage exhaust brake going to work with the 8-speed power line in this new Cummins? That's going to be...
Oh, it's going to work great.
Yeah, you think so?
Yeah, because you're going to be able to downshift without a harsh downshift under, you know, load, but still get very adequate engine braking. You know, because you're not waiting to drop down into the previous gear another 500 RPMs. They're able to downshift the transmission a lot sooner and smoother because you have more gears to choose from.
Oh yeah, that's true.
So
yes, well, with the other two, more gears translated to weaker exhaust rate, but I think a lot of the tuning that Ram does with their with Eisen and with their own 68,
yeah.
I feel as though that's where this platform is the best, because that transmission is most of the exhaust brake. The exhaust brake kicks in obviously with the back pressure. Is that still the same style?
Yeah.
Is the back pressure?
The vanes go the other way inside the turbo, and it creates a back pressure inside of the engine.
Gotcha.
So that's where you get the exhaust brakes from. Just by using an exhaust brake, even without towing, people can increase the efficiency of, or the lifespan of their primary braking system by like 60%.
That's crazy.
So I always recommend using exhaust brake whether you're towing or not. For one, it keeps those vanes moving inside of the turbo. I don't know how many turbos I've replaced because they're frozen up, because for one, the truck never gets full throttled, so it never rotates that vane in order to give max boost. Plus they don't use the exhaust brake, so the vanes never get to go all the way back the other way. And yeah, I mean, we've replaced a lot of turbos because they're seized up.
So you said this before too. You said, hey, if you're gonna buy a truck like this, a diesel, either you better be towing or you better drive it like you stole it. That's the best way to use this machine. This machine is built to work.
Yeah.
So most, like you said, most of the people probably coming here with issues are people who are just driving to the grocery store and pick up their kids from school and sitting idling in traffic.
I've got an eco diesel sitting outside waiting right now that has a DPF regen frequency code in it, and it's at 117% on the DPF soot load. And we talked to the customer, and they literally use it to just run down to the grocery store and in-town stuff. And it's like, well, once a week you're gonna have to take your wife up to Park City and take her to dinner, and take that eco diesel and let it eat going up Parley's. You know,
Yeah.
You got to get them things cleaned out. They're not designed for short, full operating temperature trips. You have to get them to full operating temperature, and you have to run these things.
Yeah.
They are meant to work.
Cool. Well, let us know you guys' thoughts in the comment section.
Yes.
Yeah.
And, you know, as with all of the videos, I will answer back as many as I can legitimate questions. I'm not going to entertain the negative Nancy's out there, because I honestly really don't care what your viewpoint is on some of this stuff. I do this every day for a living. I'm not paid by Stellantis. I'm not paid by anybody to do these videos. I do it because I like the information and I like getting my viewpoint out there. But if you have a legitimate question, shoot me a message or comment, and I'm gonna try and get to all of them. It's getting to a lot of comments though. So yeah,
Too much sometimes. So.
might have to hire somebody to sit there and go through the comments. No, I wouldn't do that ever.
Yeah. Hey, get to them when you get to them.
Yeah, very true. But you know, as with all new things, some of you do know me, I like tech, I like new. I just hope they're not taking a big step backwards on this one. So it's literally going to take these engines into the trucks, onto the streets, and then back into the shop for maintenance and whatever, before I can give my full opinion on what I think of this engine. Hopefully Cummins has learned from their mistakes and grown from them. Hopefully they're not making more mistakes. So, you know, it's just time is going to tell on it.
Yeah.
But yeah, let's get excited about something.
Yep.
Any other questions you have on there?
That's it, man.
Yeah?
Yeah, man. That's awesome stuff.
Okay, we could talk about how I hate CGI blocks.
Yeah, you triggered me. Hey, you triggered me and a few other people actually.
Oh, I triggered a lot of people.
Because I was like, man, I would like to. I actually like the CGI, but then when you broke it down, like, well.
All right, so let's clarify. I've had a couple people comment on the CGI. Yeah, it doesn't prevent a piston from coming out the side of the block. I'm not stupid. I know that there has to be catastrophic failure inside of the engine. It doesn't matter if it's aluminum, cast iron, steel, or CGI. If there is catastrophic failure inside of that engine, that piston's going to make an exit really quick. The problem is it's not just the outside of the block that's made out of this CGI material. The inside of the block is too, especially the lifter bores, where they have a little tiny flag on the side of a lifter that runs in a groove. Now once that lifter starts to wear out and that lifter is allowed to drop out of that bore a little bit more, and believe me, we're only talking an area that big that flag has to run in, it will twist and then start chewing up the cam and the lifters. And then once you have catastrophic failure there, usually it sticks a valve that hits a piston, and now piston exits chapped. All right, so the basic of it is that you have a terrible lifter design made out of a terrible composite for a block. Those combinations cause the piston to want to go live somewhere else. So yeah, I'm not dumb. It's not just a weak outer shell of the block. It's the whole entire block that's weak as a result of the CGI. Go back to cast iron, and for gosh sakes, if you're going to make a lifter and you want to keep it from rotating in its bore, come up with something other than what looks like a pinched piece of metal. Yeah. Next one I have apart, I'll show you what I'm talking about on that, but it's a terrible design. I think they can do a lot better, and I hope they did on this one. I hope they really improved the way that lifter is kept from rotating inside of that block.
Mm-hmm. Cool.
Yeah.
Peace.
Have a good one, guys. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll talk to you soon.